written with a fresh, intense, and engaging style filled with dynamics, twists, and a strong emotional buildup. I never considered myself a jealous man. I never scrolled through her phone, never questioned her when she went out, never followed her to see where she was going. I never needed to. Or at least, that's what I believed. Trust was something I thought we had, something I never imagined would break. And yet, here I was, sitting alone in my car outside our house, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the dim glow of the bedroom window. It was past midnight. Emily wasn't home. She said she'd be back by 10. A simple dinner with friends. Nothing unusual. Nothing suspicious. But then 10 became 11. 11 became midnight. Her texts were short, dismissive. Don't wait up. That was all she sent. Something was wrong. I pulled out my phone and dialed her. Straight to voicemail. Again. And again. A sinking feeling clawed at my chest. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe she really was just out with friends. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she had a few drinks and decided to crash at someone's place instead of driving. Logical explanations. Normal explanations. But my gut wasn't buying it. I got out of the car and walked up to the house. The living room was dark, silent, the kind of silence that makes a place feel abandoned. A home should never feel like this. I tossed my keys on the table, sat down, and waited. Minutes dragged. The clock on the wall ticked louder than usual. My mind raced through possibilities, each one worse than the last. Then, at 12:47 a.m., the front door finally opened. Emily stepped in. No apologies. No excuses. Just a glance in my direction before she turned to lock the door behind her. She smelled like perfume. Not hers. I stood up. Where the hell were you? She sighed like I was exhausting her. Out. I waited for more, but she just started taking off her coat, moving like I wasn't even there. Out where? I pressed. She tossed her coat onto the couch and ran a hand through her hair. With friends. Which friends? That made her hesitate just for a second. A flicker of something, annoyance, hesitation, calculation, before she shrugged. You don't know them. She was lying. I could feel it. Something inside me snapped. Bullshit. You always tell me who you're with. Her eyes finally met mine, but they weren't guilty. They weren't apologetic. They were cold. Why are you acting like this? She asked, as if I was the problem. I took a slow breath, my hands clenched at my sides. Because you're lying to me. Her expression shifted, and just like that she switched tactics. The irritation was gone, replaced with faint concern. She stepped closer, reaching for my arm. Babe, you're tired. You're overthinking. I pulled away before she could touch me. Who is he? She didn't flinch. Didn't gasp. Didn't do anything that a guilty person would do when confronted with the truth. Instead, she laughed. A short, dry laugh that sent a chill down my spine. You're being ridiculous, she said, shaking her head. I'm going to bed. And just like that, she walked past me. No explanations. No fear. No regret. She left with a smile. Now she's desperate to see me just one last time. But we're not there yet. Not even close. I didn't sleep that night. She did. She slipped under the covers like nothing happened. Turned away from me. Fell asleep within minutes. I could hear her slow, steady breathing while my mind screamed at me. I lay there staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding like I had just run 10 miles. I should have forced her to answer. I should have kept pressing until she cracked. But she was too good at this. Too calm. Too cold. And I had no proof. Yet, by morning she was back to normal. Humming in the kitchen while making coffee, scrolling through her phone with a small smile on her lips. Like last night never happened. I sat across from her at the table watching. She glanced up and gave me a lazy smirk. Are you done acting crazy? Crazy. That's what she was going with. I was the paranoid one. The insecure husband who saw things that weren't there. I didn't answer. I just watched. She raised an eyebrow, then went back to scrolling. She was texting someone. I could see the way her thumbs moved quickly, the way she smirked at whatever reply she got. Then she did something she hadn't done before. She turned her phone face down. A challenge. I took a sip of coffee, acting like I wasn't about to destroy her entire game. Let me see your phone. Her smirk vanished. She looked up, and for the first time since this started, I saw something flash across her face. Not guilt. Not regret. Annoyance. She laughed, shaking her head. No. I set my mug down carefully, leveling my gaze at her. Why not? Because you're being ridiculous, she said, standing up. I'm not doing this with you. She picked up her phone, and before I could react, she was already walking toward the bedroom. I let her go, for now. But I wasn't letting this go. I needed proof. I wasn't stupid enough to snatch her phone from her hands. That would get me nowhere. If she was cheating, She had already covered her tracks. No, I had to be smart. So I waited. I watched her routine. She left for work at the same time every morning. Gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Girls' night on Fridays. A schedule as tight as clockwork. I started paying attention to the little things. The way she left the house in casual clothes but came back dressed differently. The way she always showered the second she got home. The way she never let her phone leave her sight. And then I caught my first break. It happened 2 days later. She was in the shower. Music blasting from the speaker. Completely lost in her own world. And for the first time in weeks, she left her phone unattended on the counter. Unlocked. It was now or never. I grabbed it, my pulse pounding. Opened her messages. Nothing suspicious in her texts. Instagram. Normal. Emails. Boring. Then I opened her ride-sharing app. And there it was. Recent trips. Locations. She hadn't been going to her usual spots. No gym. No restaurants she had mentioned. Instead, she had been taking trips to a single address across town. Over and over again. I copied the address, my hands shaking. Then I heard the water turn off. I put the phone back exactly how I found it and stepped away, acting casual. She walked out minutes later, towel wrapped around her, scrolling through her phone without a care in the world. She didn't suspect a thing. But now I had a destination, and I was going to see for myself. I spent the next 24 hours spiraling. That address, it was burned into my mind. I could see it every time I closed my eyes. Some random house across town. Not a restaurant. Not a gym. Not one of her friends' places. Just an address she had been visiting over and over again. I wanted to drive there immediately. Confront her with it. Demand answers. But no, I had to be patient. If I played this wrong, she'd find a way to twist it. Gaslight me. Call me crazy. I needed something solid. Something undeniable. So I made a plan. The next evening, she was getting ready for one of her nights out. I leaned against the bedroom doorframe, watching her apply lipstick in the mirror like she wasn't about to go meet some other man. She noticed my reflection and smirked. Still in detective mode? I didn't answer. Just shrugged. Have fun. Her smirk faltered for a second, like she was expecting me to argue. Maybe she even wanted me to. But when I didn't react, she just grabbed her purse and left. 2 minutes later, I was in my car. I didn't follow her directly. I wasn't that reckless. Instead, I drove straight to the address from her ride-sharing history, parked down the street, and waited. And then 20 minutes later, her car pulled up. She stepped out, smoothed her dress, checked her reflection in the window. And then he came outside. A man. Tall. Early 40s. Dark hair, expensive watch, a confident smirk like he had no reason to hide. He leaned against the doorframe, watching her walk up like she belonged there. And the way she smiled at him? I had never seen that smile before. Not in years. I felt sick. She said something. He laughed, pulled her inside, and shut the door behind them. Just like that, she was gone. No hesitation. No guilt. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ached. This was it. The proof I needed. And yet I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Because this wasn't just cheating. This was routine. A ritual. She had done this so many times that it was normal for her. Comfortable. She wasn't just sneaking around, she had built an entire second life behind my back. And I had been blind to it. I sat there for over an hour, my thoughts running in circles. Every excuse she had ever given me, every lie, every dismissive smirk, it all clicked into place. She had never even tried to hide it properly because she never thought I'd catch her. But now she was wrong. And I was done playing the fool. So I started my car. And I drove home. I had no idea what I was going to do next. But one thing was certain, when she walked through that door, she had no idea what was waiting for her. I sat in the dark, waiting. The house felt different now. Like it wasn't even mine anymore. Like every piece of furniture, every framed photo on the wall, every little thing we had built together was just a carefully crafted lie. I checked the time. 2:14 a.m. She was late. Again. I could picture exactly what she was doing. The way she would laugh softly at something he said. The way she would let him touch her, hold her like I didn't even exist. I imagined her getting dressed after, fixing her hair in his mirror, texting me some half-assed excuse before sliding into her car. I had been so blind. But now I saw everything. At 2:31 a.m. I heard the familiar sound of her car pulling into the driveway. My pulse pounded. Every muscle in my body was tense, ready? She was about to walk into her own personal hell, and she didn't even know it yet. The front door creaked open. Keys jingled. A quiet yawn. Then footsteps. Slow, careful ones, like she was hoping not to wake me. Too bad. I turned on the lamp beside me. She jumped. Jesus, her hand flew to her chest as she exhaled sharply. Then, when she realized it was just me, she let out a small laugh. Why are you sitting in the dark like some kind of serial killer? I didn't answer. Just stared at her. She looked unbothered. Like she had done absolutely nothing wrong. Hair slightly messy, makeup smudged at the corners of her eyes, a faint scent of cologne on her skin that sure as hell wasn't mine. I clenched my jaw. Where were you? She groaned. Not this again. Tossing her purse onto the table, she kicked off her heels and stretched like she had just come home from a long, exhausting day. Babe, I told you I was out with friends. Liar. Her head snapped toward me. For the first time, something flickered in her expression. I followed you, I said, my voice disturbingly calm. A beat of silence. Then, a smirk. Oh, you're stalking me now? She folded her arms. That's healthy. I stood up slowly. I watched you walk into his house. Her smirk wavered. I took a step closer. Watch him pull you inside like you belonged there. Another step. Watch the door close behind you while you, my voice cracked, rage boiling over. While you pretended I didn't exist. She stayed quiet. For the first time since this all started, she had nothing to say. And that's when I saw it. That tiny, fleeting flicker of something in her eyes, not guilt. Not regret. Annoyance. Like I was the inconvenience here. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. You're not even sorry, are you? Her expression hardened. You want me to lie? Fine. I'm sorry. There. Happy? I stared at her. Who is he? She rolled her eyes. Oh, relax. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal? My hands clenched into fists. You've been sneaking around for months. Lying to my face. And it's not a big deal? She exhaled sharply, rubbing her temples like I was giving her a headache. Then finally she looked me in the eye. And what she said next would haunt me forever. I just needed something different. Something different. Like I was an old pair of shoes she got tired of wearing. Like I was replaceable. Disposable. The air left my lungs. For a moment I couldn't even speak. Then I swallowed hard. Get out. She blinked. What? You heard me. My voice was low, steady, dangerous. Get out. She scoffed. Oh, don't be dramatic. I stepped forward so fast she flinched. Get out of my house, I growled, voice shaking with barely contained rage. Now. She stared at me, lips parted slightly like she was considering arguing. Then, with a roll of her eyes, she grabbed her purse. Fine. Whatever. She walked to the door, no hesitation, no second thoughts. Then, right before stepping outside, she turned back. And she smiled. A cruel, knowing smile. And just like that, she was gone. She left with a smile, now she's desperate to see me just one last time. But this wasn't over. Not even close, the silence after she left was deafening. I stood there, staring at the closed door, my fists still clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. My whole body was trembling, not just with anger, but something worse. Something deeper. A kind of betrayal that made my chest feel hollow. Like someone had reached inside me and torn something vital out. She didn't fight. She didn't beg. She didn't even try to deny it. She just left. Like I was nothing. Like all those years together meant nothing. I should have felt relieved. Should have felt powerful throwing her out like that. But all I felt was sick. I sat down heavily on the couch, hands dragging down my face, trying to process what just happened. My mind kept replaying her words, her smirk, the way she rolled her eyes when I confronted her. I just needed something different. She said it so casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Like I was an old sweater she got tired of wearing. I thought about all the times she had looked me in the eyes and lied. All the nights I had stayed up worrying while she was with him. All the times I had blamed myself, wondering if I was imagining things. No, she wanted me to feel crazy. She wanted me to doubt myself. She had fun watching me squirm. And now, after everything, she had the nerve to walk out with a smile? No, she wasn't getting off that easy. I grabbed my phone, opened our shared bank account, and started transferring every last cent into a new one under my name. She wasn't taking a dime from me. Then I changed the locks, digitally at least. She had a key, but the smart lock could be reset remotely. She wanted to come crawling back? Good luck getting inside. Then I opened our phone bill and pulled up the call logs. There he was. The same number over and over again. Late at night, early in the morning, during the times she was supposedly at work or with friends. I copied it, pasted it into a search bar. Took less than 5 minutes to find him. Mark Calloway, 43 years old, divorced, owned a high-end real estate firm across town, and, just like I suspected, married. Oh, Emily, you really screwed up this time. I wasn't just going to sit here and lick my wounds. She wanted to play dirty? Fine. I was about to burn her entire world to the ground. I didn't waste any time. I had the name, the number, the home address, and most importantly, I had her. On record. On trips to his place. On phone logs. Emily had spent months weaving a web of lies, thinking she was untouchable, thinking she was smarter than me. But she forgot one thing. I had nothing left to lose. I sat at the kitchen table, phone in hand, staring at the contact information of Mark Calloway. I could call him, confront him, tear into him and demand he leave my wife alone. But that wouldn't be enough. Men like him, they don't feel guilt. They don't feel fear. They think they're untouchable. I needed to hit him where it actually hurt. So I searched deeper. Turned out Mark wasn't just some rich real estate guy. He was also a business partner, co-owner of his firm with someone else. His wife, Claire Calloway. Bingo. I found her Instagram in seconds. Polished, picture-perfect life. Smiling photos with Mark. Vacation shots. Their 2 kids. Their home. Their world carefully curated for social media. And Emily had been waltzing into it like she belonged. I didn't hesitate. I pulled up Claire's contact information, found her email, and started typing. Subject: Your husband and my wife Claire. I don't know you and you don't know me, but we have something unfortunate in common. Your husband, Mark, has been sleeping with my wife, Emily, for months. I have proof: phone logs, ride history, addresses. I've attached screenshots. I'm telling you this because I believe you deserve to know the truth just like I did. Do what you will with this information. I figured it was only fair that you see them for who they really are. A husband who was just as blindsided as you. I attached everything. The call logs. The address history. The timestamps. I double-checked, triple-checked. Then I hit send. It was done. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly, heart still hammering. Now, I waited. And I didn't have to wait long. Less than 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Not from Claire. From Emily. A single text. What the hell did you do? I smiled. She left with a smile. Now she's desperate to see me just one last time. I took my time before replying. I did what you never thought I'd do. I fought back. The moment I pressed send, I knew she was losing her mind. I pictured her grabbing her phone, seeing my message, the blood draining from her face. I pictured her pacing in some hotel room, or maybe in his house, frantically trying to come up with an excuse, a way out. But there was no way out. Not this time. I waited, watching the 3 little dots appear and disappear as she tried to find the right words. Nothing she said would change what I'd done. And then my phone rang. I let it ring. It rang again. Decline. A text popped up seconds later. Pick up the damn phone. No, she didn't get to demand anything anymore. Instead, I called someone else. Claire. She answered on the second ring. For a few seconds, there was silence. Just her breathing. Then, a shaky exhale. You're serious? She said, voice tight. This isn't some kind of joke? I wish it was, I said. Another pause. Then something shifted. The raw emotion in her voice hardened into something sharper. Something furious. How long? I didn't sugarcoat it. At least 6 months. Maybe longer. A small, bitter laugh. Wow. Just wow. I could hear her moving around, opening and closing doors, her breathing heavy. Like she was pacing. Like she was ready to kill someone. Claire, I said carefully, I don't know what you want to do about this, but I figured you should know. Oh, I know what I'm going to do, she snapped. I'm going to ruin him. I didn't doubt it for a second. Before I could say anything else, another call came through. Emily. Again. I ignored it. Then another text. You have no idea what you just did. Oh, but I did. I just set fire to the house she built out of lies. And now she was trapped inside. I texted her back. You should go talk to Mark. I have a feeling he's about to have a very, very bad night. I stared at the message for a second, then added one more line. And by the way, you don't live here anymore. Then I blocked her number. For the first time in months, I felt free. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly as outside in the night, someone else's world was starting to burn. The next 24 hours were pure chaos. Emily was locked out. She couldn't get into the house, couldn't call me, couldn't weasel her way back into my life with some half-assed excuse. And Mark? He was probably experiencing his own personal nightmare right about now. I didn't hear from Claire again, but I didn't need to. She was the kind of woman who handled things decisively. And after I sent her that email, she had everything she needed to destroy him. By midday, I had already changed every password Emily had access to, Our shared accounts, utilities, even the damn Netflix login. Petty? Maybe. But after what she did, I wanted her to feel erased. Like she never existed in this house. Then, at exactly 4:17 p.m., she showed up. I heard the knock first. Not soft. Not hesitant. A loud, furious pounding. I didn't move. She pounded again. Then I heard her voice, muffled through the door. Open the damn door now. I almost laughed. She really thought she could command me? After everything? I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it just enough to see her. Emily looked wrecked. Hair a mess. Face flushed with anger. And her eyes wild, desperate. Not with regret. Not with shame. But with rage. She wasn't sorry. She was pissed that I caught her. What the hell did you do? She snapped, trying to shove past me. I didn't move. You don't live here anymore. Her jaw clenched. Are you serious right now? I raised an eyebrow. Oh, I'm dead serious. She let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Oh, you are such a child. I just smiled. And yet, here you are, banging on my door, begging for my attention. Her face twisted with fury. You called his wife? I leaned against the doorframe. Yup. She ran a hand through her hair, exhaling sharply. Jesus, you don't understand what you've done. I tilted my head. Oh, I think I do. Her eyes darted away for a split second. There it was. A flicker of something beneath the anger. Not fear. Not guilt. But worry. For herself. What? Mark not answering your calls? I said, voice dripping with mock concern. Did his wife kick him out too? Did she cancel his credit cards? Leave him sleeping in his car? Her nostrils flared. You don't get it. No, you don't get it. I snapped, my patience finally cracking. You thought you could walk all over me, Emily. You thought I'd just sit back and take it while you snuck around behind my back like some pathetic, clueless idiot. She folded her arms, eyes narrowing. You are pathetic. I laughed. Actually laughed. Then why are you here? I gestured around. Oh, that's right, because the life you built outside of this house is crumbling. And now you have nowhere to go. Her jaw tightened. She knew I was right. And that's when she dropped the act. The anger faded. The arrogance melted away. And suddenly she looked smaller. Sadder. She tried to soften her voice. Look, I messed up, okay? But we don't have to do this like this. Let's just talk. I stared at her. She was good. I'd give her that. If I didn't know better, if I hadn't already seen who she really was, I might have fallen for it. But I did know better. I shook my head slowly. Too late. Her face hardened again. So that's it? You're just done. Yup. A beat of silence. Then she let out a slow, shaky exhale, stepping back. You'll regret this, she whispered. I smirked. I doubt it. She stared at me for a moment longer, searching for something, some hesitation, some weakness she could exploit. But there was nothing left. I was done. And she knew it. So, with one last furious glare, she turned on her heel and stormed off. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She already knew this time there was no coming back. That should have been the end of it. She should have walked away, licked her wounds, and disappeared from my life like the selfish, heartless person she had proven herself to be. But Emily? She never really lost. Even when she was backed into a corner, she still had one thing left. Her pride. And she was about to burn it all just to get back at me. It started small. Annoying, but manageable. A few days after she stormed off, I got an email notification and attempt to reset my bank password. Then another one for my email. Then for our Wi-Fi account. She was grasping at straws, hoping I'd slipped up and left something open for her to exploit. She found nothing. Then she went for round 2. She showed up at my workplace. I was in the middle of a meeting when my receptionist buzzed in. There's a woman here asking for you. Says it's urgent. I already knew. I stepped into the lobby and there she was. Arms crossed, fake concern plastered on her face. We need to talk, she said, loud enough for the receptionist to hear. I barely looked at her. Not here. Oh, but you wouldn't answer my calls, she said, voice dripping with mock innocence. So I had to come. I clenched my jaw, lowering my voice. Emily, leave. Now. She just smiled. What? Afraid of what I might say. That's when I realized. She wasn't here to beg. She wasn't here to reason. She was here to cause damage. Because she knew I had control of everything now, my money, my home, my future. And this? This was the only place I didn't have full control. She wanted to embarrass me. So I did something she didn't expect. I smiled back. Do whatever you want, I said quietly. Throw your little tantrum. Make a scene. Let everyone in this room know exactly who you are. I took a step closer, lowering my voice to a whisper. Because the more you do this, the more desperate you look. And I don't think you want people to see you like that. For the first time, her confidence wavered. She swallowed hard, jaw tightening, fingers twitching slightly like she wanted to slap me right there in the lobby. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out. I exhaled slowly, rolling my shoulders, pushing back the tension that had built up in my spine. She was done playing nice, and I had a feeling her next move was going to be much worse, that I should have known she wouldn't stop. Emily had lost. I had ripped away her comfort, exposed her affair, and shut every single door she could have crawled back through. But instead of walking away with what little dignity she had left, she did the only thing she had left. She went nuclear. It started with whispers, people at work giving me side glances, a few emails from mutual friends suddenly going unanswered. One of my colleagues, Jason, pulled me aside after a meeting, an uncomfortable look on his face. "Hey man, I don't know if it's true, but..." He hesitated. "Emily's been saying some stuff about you." I let out a slow breath. "Like what?" Jason scratched the back of his neck. "That you were controlling. That you locked her out of the house with nowhere to go. That you got violent." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You believe that?" "Of course not," he said quickly. "But some people might." She was smart. She knew exactly what strings to pull. If she couldn't destroy me directly, she'd chip away at my reputation instead. That was just the beginning. The real hit came later that night. I was at home, finally letting myself relax, when there was a loud knock at the door. Not like before, this one had weight, authority. I opened it. 2 police officers stood on my porch. "Mr. Hayes?" one of them asked. My stomach dropped. "Yeah? We need to ask you a few questions. Your wife, Emily Hayes, filed a report." Of course, she did. I knew this game. Women like Emily? They always had one last card to play. If they couldn't ruin you emotionally, they'd try legally. False allegations. Just enough to make things messy. Just enough to leave a mark. But she underestimated me. I let them in. Answered every question. Kept my cool. When they asked if I had kicked her out with no resources, I pulled up the bank statements that showed the lump sum I had willingly transferred to her before she left. When they asked if I had ever put hands on her, I simply gestured at myself. Do I look like a guy with a history of violence? My record was spotless. And most importantly, I had proof. Emails, texts, call logs, screenshots of her affair, her lies, everything. When they left, it was with a half-hearted warning to stay away from her and a look that said, "We know what this is." She had failed. Again. I sat down, rubbing my hands over my face, exhaling slowly. This was the final act. She was spiraling, throwing everything at the wall, hoping something would stick. But now, she had nothing left. No credibility. No money. No home. No control. And me? I was finally free. 3 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Meet me. Just once. No drama. No tricks. Just talk." I knew who it was. And I knew exactly what she wanted. Closure. She needed to see if there was anything left of me that still cared. If she still had any power over me. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it. She left with a smile. Now she's desperate to see me just one last time. But she never would. Because, as far as I was concerned, Emily Hayes no longer existed.